Hey everybody, David Alter here for Rink Wide Toronto, presented by Bodog. Make a Play, Canada's choice for free casino games, sports odds, and poker strategies. And tonight, the Toronto Maple Leafs play host to the Minnesota Wild before embarking on a 5-game road trip, which will go through Western Canada, Seattle, and then New York before coming home. And this will be a big one for Ilya Samsonov, who will go back in net. He's had a couple of rough games, even though he picked up the win against the Sabres. You know, those 3 goals that he let in that third period didn't look particularly good. So number 35 is going to be looking for a rebound performance, and he probably has something to kind of be a little bit concerned about here. Not necessarily from a depth standpoint or where his game's at, but the big news today was that Matt Murray was actually taking part in a group setting for the very first time since his ankle injury last month. Asked Sheldon Keefe afterwards if that's a positive sign for his potential return, and he said yeah, and that he is expected to join the team for practice on Saturday and will be with the team for the road trip. Now, he is on long-term injured reserve, Murray that is, and so the earliest he'd be able to return to the lineup would be March 1st. So that could be when we see Murray activated, and then it'll be again Murray and Samsonov. The Leafs do have the space as of right now to make that move. If the Leafs do want to do something else at the deadline and move some money around, they might have to be creative, because that LTI money to activate Murray is just enough, with subtracting a player or two to squeeze it in under the NHL's salary cap. And so that we also got the news that Jake Muzzin is done for the season and playoffs a couple days ago. And so he'll continue to kind of stick around the team and be a leadership presence. But as far as playing, that'll be reevaluated in the fall of next season. He's got 1 more year left on his $5.625 million contract. But back to the goalies. Are you excited to see Matt Murray potentially come back here? Or do the Leafs need to do something at the deadline, which is March 3rd, to shore up their goaltending situation? Or do you want to see Joseph Woll go on a bit of a ride? Please leave a comment below and let me know what you think about Toronto's goaltending situation. Rasmus Sandin will miss his 3rd straight game with a presumed upper body injury. He missed the last 2 games with that, and I spoke to him yesterday. He says he's feeling better and he's nearing a return. So they're going to give him 1 more game. Sheldon Keefe kind of indicated yesterday that they might give him 1 more game to rest. So the lineup will pretty much be the same as a result of that. Now, here's a little bit of controversy for you. Mark Giordano is going to be 3 shots away from tying Chris Russell, his former Calgary Flames teammate, for the all-time shot block record. And so records.nhl.com has that as the record. I was starting to look it up as far as my prep, and then I noticed this right here, and it has Zdeno Chara with almost 200 more shots than both players. And so that got me thinking, well, this is kind of weird, and it also makes sense. Zdeno Chara's played 1,680 games in the NHL, so perhaps he does have the record. I contacted the stats department at the NHL, and they said that because shot blocks were recorded before the 05-06 season, but not consistently, on that report, they do have Zdeno Chara's shots calculated into that. And so there has to be a big caveat with that, which means that the record that they recognize from a consistent standpoint is since 05-06. So since 05-06, Mark Giordano is going to have that shot block record if he gets more than 3 tonight against the Wild. But he's still a couple hundred away from Zdeno Chara's record. Weird that there's so much inconsistency. I'm not surprised. Shot blocks in general were one of those stats that no one really knew what constituted a shot on goal, let alone a blocked shot, for a long period of time, and they're manually counted. So take that for what you will. But I thought that was kind of interesting. Leave a comment below. Do you care? Like, do you think that this is a stat worth celebrating for Mark Giordano, or does the actual shot blocks by Zdeno Chara change your feeling of it? That's pretty much the story. The Toronto Maple Leafs looking for a win against the Wild, the team that helped broker that trade that saw Ryan O'Reilly and Noel Acciari become Toronto Maple Leafs. Remember, the Wild retain 25% of Ryan O'Reilly's contract to facilitate the cap space there. So that's the story here. Myself and Rob Wong will have your post-game show. Make sure you rate and subscribe on all your favorite podcast platforms to Rink Wide Toronto, presented by Bodog, Canada's choice for free casino games, poker tips, and sports odds. Rink Wide Toronto, pregame, postgame, every game.